Blog Talk Radio.
You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into another episode of On Air with Chris Shanafelt. A lot of things going on in the world of football. We got Senior Bowl practices going full force as the Senior Bowl is this Saturday. We got the Super Bowl. We, of course, know it's the Los Angeles Rams taking on the New England Patriots. We're getting closer and closer to full-on draft season. We got the NFL Combine next month, and we're gonna kick off things this evening by talking with Houston Texans wide receiver Vyncint Smith. Of course, we had Vyncint on the show a couple of times last year as he was getting ready to make the jump from college to the pro game. We'll talk about his first year in the NFL with the Houston Texans, a young, exciting NFL roster. We'll talk about that, his expectations for year two in the NFL. And once we're finished chatting with Vyncint, we'll welcome onto the show a good friend, Tabaria Ruffin from Not Your Average Tea Time Podcast. Tabaria, of course, keeps a close eye on the New York Jets. So we'll get his thoughts on their new head coach, Adam Gase, and more of what's going on with the Green and White organization in New York. But without further ado, we'll get to our first guest, Vyncint Smith, again, out of Limestone College, entering his now second year in the NFL with the Houston Texans.
Watson steps, throws, end zone. Smith, he's in, touchdown. Vyncint Smith with the grab. The concentration, he collapses down, gets that knee, and just before it slides out of the back of the end zone. Vyncint Smith, previous play will be out of Limestone College, brings it in.
There you have it. It is a pleasure to welcome onto the show Houston Texans wide receiver, again by way of Limestone College, the first Limestone Saint to make it to the National Football League. Of course, that clip courtesy of the National Football League, capturing the moment live as Vyncint Smith came down with his second career reception, which was a big-time touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles late in the fourth quarter. With that said, we welcome Vyncint onto the show now. Vyncint, really do appreciate you taking some time this evening. How did it feel to get that first touchdown under your belt?
It was great, you know. For me, first, I always feel like it's a struggle. You know, you can't wait to get the first catch, first touchdown, you know.
Hey, Vyncint, you there?
Hello?
Hey, Vyncint, you there?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep, can you hear me? Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, you got that first touchdown under your belt, and you know, you obviously it didn't just come overnight. Obviously, that was later in the season. For you, Vyncint, you know, let's just bring you back about a year ago around this time. Not many were too familiar with you, with your game. Like I said in the opening, the first Limestone Saint to make it to the NFL. You know, this time last year, you hadn't just yet blown the doors of the South Carolina Pro Day, where you ran, if my memory serves me correctly, a 4.36 40-yard dash. You had an insane vertical leap. I mean, you were the talk of that pro day. You know, I just want to bring you back a year ago from now. You know, how did all this come together? I mean, how big was the pre-draft setup for you, whether it's the pro day, the interviews with teams and all that? How big was that for you coming out of Limestone College?
It was really big because, you know, coming out of a small school, you want scouts and GMs and everybody to talk about you. So the more, the merrier, of course. But it was really big, you know, just getting a chance to have a couple visits with the teams that I did have a couple of teams come and work me out. And just for people to know my name coming out of such a small school, you know, is, you know, people, nobody else, but it's like nobody else but the NFL GMs and scouts.
Yeah, and again, a long process, I'm sure. You did not get an invite to the NFL Combine, but you did make the most of that South Carolina Pro Day where you had coaches and GMs such as Bill Belichick, who's gearing up for Super Bowl 53, in attendance and kind of showing interest and chatting with you following that insane Pro Day of yours almost a year ago to the day. Getting ready for this interview, I've seen on YouTube your sister made a vlog, a video blog of capturing the moment of the, kind of what you're going through, during that day 3 of the NFL draft, where it looked like you were going to be selected. You go undrafted, and the Houston Texans ultimately win the Vyncint Smith sweepstakes, as you were a highly thought of undrafted free agent. Many teams showing interest in you. Talk about that moment, if you could, Vyncint. What was it like, moments leading up to the to day 3 of the NFL draft, to the draft officially wrapping up, and you landing in Houston?
It was pretty tough on the last day for me, but on the NFL roster by the end of the process. But the easy part, is waiting for you to get selected. I knew I should have gone somewhere on the third day, and watching how the first rounds unfold. Personally for me, I want to see receivers go early, so that gives me a better chance to go. But how it worked out for me is, I waited to the end of the draft, and by the time the draft started to close down, and get the calls from teams saying, okay, we didn't select you, but we want to look at you for being undrafted. That's when it kind of gets difficult, because now the decision's on you now. Basically, the beginning of your career all lies on the decision that I now make.
And you ultimately decided to join the Houston Texans. Again, you were among the top undrafted free agents, and that showed in the signing bonuses, of course. But what ultimately led you to join the Houston Texans? Obviously, this was a team that had some pretty nice depth at wide receiver. Of course, everybody knows about DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the top wide receiver in the NFL. They just recently drafted Will Fuller out of Notre Dame in the first round of the NFL draft, and of course, their future is certainly bright with quarterback Deshaun Watson. I gotta think some of those were some of your some selling points for you to join the Houston Texans. But for you personally, I know I've spoken to a lot of guys who have gone undrafted, and they would say, hey, honestly, when the 6th, 7th round came around, I was kind of hoping I'd get undrafted just so you could kind of choose your destination. Did you have those same thoughts? And again, how did the Houston Texans ultimately win you over?
Oh, yeah, I did have those same thoughts too. At that point, is like I said, it's kind of nerve-wracking because the decision's all on you. But at the same time, it kind of works out better when you get that late into the draft where, I'm only on a 3-year contract, so my contract year is a year earlier. And like they did say, you get to decide. But how I chose the Houston Texans they were one of the few teams that invited me out to come for a pre-draft visit. So that really helped going in the building and meeting the special teams coach, head coach, GM, receivers coach, people around the building. Getting a good feel for how the Texans work and how the city is. That was a really big thing for me. And then just during the draft, Houston Texans, Mr. Gaines, he was definitely calling me and letting me know what the game plan was for him and how they see me. And that really helped too, because I feel like in that way, the front office, I know for sure the front office has a plan for me. Mr. Gaines has a plan for me. And I felt really safe making that decision because I felt like either way, that was one of my best chances.
And again, you got 1 year now under your belt with the Houston Texans. You heard it in the opening. You had a touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champs, late in the game. A diving catch from Deshaun Watson, your quarterback. What's it been like working with Deshaun Watson, working with fellow wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, you guys all have something in common, and that's that you are from the state of South Carolina. Does that make you any closer, or is that just a coincidence?
I don't think it's a coincidence at all, but it definitely gives us something to talk about. Definitely, Hop. First, when he found out I was from South Carolina, that was the one thing he's like, okay, I definitely want to work with this kid now. Just knowing he's from your home state, that helps out a lot. But I don't think it's a coincidence. I think the Southeast, not just South Carolina, but the Southeast has a lot of good athletes that get overlooked, for whatever circumstance. But that definitely helped. But playing with those guys is great. They're kind of like magic. You learn so much from them, and you see them play the game and how they're professional about it. And you want to take that and add that to yourself. I can't play the game like Hop does because we're two total different receivers, but I still learn so much on the field and off the field from him.
Absolutely. Somebody that maybe resembles your game a little bit more, or maybe you resemble his game a little bit more, is Will Fuller, though. Of course, I know he had an injury-plagued season this year, but is that maybe a guy that you would kind of look more to, or at least on tape, maybe pay a little bit more attention to, seeing how he's kind of used in this Houston Texans offense, and when your name is called, when your number is called, that maybe that's going to be the role that you play?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's a really great route runner, and his speed is pretty unmatched by most receivers in the league. I like to think I could compete with him, but he's just quick and fast all at the same time. And the best part about him, he can stop really fast. So DBs, they're afraid to play him up close or up tight because he can beat them deep and he can stop on a dime. So they don't like to play him too aggressively. But I definitely like to watch his game because the way he runs routes is the way I want to pattern and run my routes off of.
Again, we're chatting with Vyncint Smith, wide receiver, Houston Texans, here on air with Chris Shanafelt. And Vyncint, you guys do have some burners on that Houston Texans roster. Again, 4.36, I believe, is what you were timed at the South Carolina Pro Day. Are you the fastest guy on the roster? I know Will Fuller's up there as well. I'm sure there's some other guys that can give you guys some competition. But who's the fastest player on the Houston Texans roster as it stands today?
Today? Shoot.
Today.
I like to think I am. Of guys not injured, I like to think I am. Will, I think I could give him a good run for his money. But right now, thinking and looking on the roster, I like to think that I'm one of the faster guys. You got other guys like Batamosi and AJ who are both fast too, but I like to think I give everybody a run for their money.
Well, you guys had quite the interesting season this past season, Vyncint. You guys went on to start the year 0-3, and then you guys went on to win 10 straight, and, of course, making a playoff run in which you met a division rival, the Indianapolis Colts, in the wild card round of the playoffs. Obviously, things didn't go your guys' way then, but talk about the experiences, if you could, just throughout the season, getting off to that slow start as a team, and then again towards the end of the season, you're in the thick of things. And as we know, once you make the playoffs, anything can happen. And of course, we've seen that just this past week with the two insane NFC and AFC championship games with the New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Rams, New Orleans Saints, both games going into overtime, both games with some questionable play calling and questionable refereeing as well. But what was it like this past season? Again, you're first in the NFL to have this start where, things are looking like maybe it's going to be a rough season. Then you guys pick it up, win 10 straight, and get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I was inside the locker room. We all knew where our mistakes were the first three games and how close we were to winning those games. And we knew deep down inside it wasn't going to be that hard for us to get back into the thick of things. We knew we were that close to being the team that we wanted to be. So when we are 5-game win streak, 8-game win streak, 9-game win streak, we knew we were right where we could be, and we knew we could really possibly be undefeated, through the first part of the season. But it's the NFL, and every team is good, so we just knew that we couldn't make the mistakes, and we had to come in tight and be a close roster in the locker room, which we were.
No doubt about it. And of course, week one, you guys met up with the New England Patriots. Unfortunately, losing that game, like you said, those 3 losses to start the season, they're all very close, all one-possession games. You guys kicked off the season at New England, playing the New England Patriots. Ended up losing that game 27-20. But now this is a team, fast forwarding, this is a team that's going to be playing in Super Bowl 53. Tom Brady and the Patriots, they played in the past 8 AFC championship games. Looking at that team, and I guess I'll just go ahead and get your Super Bowl prediction right now as well, Vincent. If you've made up your decision on who you're going with, I mean, what was it about that New England Patriots team that maybe you guys just couldn't get over the hump week 1, and what do you think are their chances to pull out the Super Bowl victory?
I think it's just a thing of the Patriots being the Patriots. They're a tough team to beat. Although they, compared to past seasons, we would all say they might have had a down season. They still ended up second in the AFC, and, they're on their way to the Super Bowl. They're just a tough team to beat, but we all felt like we could have beat them, and we made too many mistakes. With that being said, I like to say we all have a little just like thing where we want to beat the Patriots so bad, so I wouldn't mind seeing the Rams beat the Patriots either.
Do you think that can truly happen, though? I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if I'm really giving the Rams much of a chance. I mean, I think a lot of it is on Todd Gurley and whether or not he's healthy to strap up. And again, he's been a little banged up the last few weeks, and I know C.J. Anderson has given that offense a big boost. But when it comes to the Super Bowl and when you're playing against Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, they like to take away your best players, and I just can't see them if Todd Gurley is indeed still banged up come Super Bowl time and isn't 100% or close to it. I just can't see C.J. Anderson beating the New England Patriots. Obviously, anything can happen, but I don't know if Jared Goff and company have what it takes. A lot of star power, no doubt about it, especially on their defense, and I know they kind of underperformed this season, but when it mattered the most, they made the most. When it mattered the most, they made the big plays down the stretch, especially last week against New Orleans. But yeah, nonetheless, it should be a very entertaining Super Bowl 53. A couple more questions for Vyncint Smith, wide receiver out of Limestone College, entering his second year now with the Houston Texans in the NFL. Vyncint, I kind of want to bring you back to a little bit about your draft journey to the league. Again, first Limestone State to make it to the NFL, and in a couple of months, it looks like you guys have a great chance at having a couple more players follow your lead into the National Football League. One guy that's really on the radar of NFL scouts and NFL teams, and he's been on the radar for a couple of years now, is defensive back Joshua Simmons. I'd like to get your opinion on his game and the possibilities of it translating to the next level, seeing as this is the guy that you've played in every day at Limestone in practice. Seeing as you're a wide receiver, I mean, do you see an NFL talent there in your former teammate, Joshua Simmons?
Yes, sir. He's on his very, very strong upside. He's a strong player. He's a great tackler, and he has a will to win and loves to compete. And I think for him, it's just kind of like me having a good pro day and showing that he can compete on the next level, which I know he can. I mean, we win against each other every day and help each other build each other's skills up. So I know he has what it takes. It's just if he wants to go get it, I think he does want to go get it.
Yeah, and whether it's Joshua Simmons or tight end Andrew Hudo or another defensive back who transferred in this year, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Justin Wyatt, the defensive back transferred in from Troy University, D1. So a couple of guys that are on the NFL radar, looking forward to seeing where they land. Obviously, somebody who you're familiar with, your ex-head coach, Mike Furrey. He's here in Chicago coaching wide receivers with the Bears, and I got a pretty close up personal with him at the Chicago Bears training camp this past summer. And I gotta say, I walked away, saying that he's probably my favorite coach on the Bears roster, just with how fired up he was, how vocal he was during practices. I mean, if somebody dropped the ball, he let them know. And I just love the way he went about his business. you obviously had him as your head coach at the college level. Now he's a wide receivers coach in the NFL. Vyncint, me personally, I could see him working his way up to being maybe a head coach one day in the National Football League. What about you? I mean, would you put it past him?
No, I think he definitely has what it takes to get to that level. I mean, he proved it on the college level. You know, he had a plan coming in, you know, to be a D1 college head coach, but he's moved up to the NFL, which is all the better for him. But I know he has exactly what it takes because he likes doing things the right way. You know, he's a Christian man, and he believes in doing things the right way. He holds us accountable. He holds himself accountable, and he just loves to win. So, and you see how he conducts himself on the field. That's how he is all the time.
Absolutely, and of course, he himself had a very productive NFL career. Have you kept in touch with him recently, or you know, obviously, I know you guys are both kind of busy doing your own thing on different teams as well. But have you heard from Coach Furry lately?
Yes, sir, I have. We keep with each other a lot. Last time I talked to him was when we both were in the playoffs. So, you know, encouraging each other, talking a little bit about the past, and hopefully meeting up with each other pretty soon here this offseason.
Yeah, that's great. Again, former head coach of yours at Limestone College, now coaching receivers with the Chicago Bears. I know this time last year, a lot of people were kind of connecting the dots and saying, oh, this is going to be a guy that the Bears are going to land as an undrafted free agent or a late-round pick. You know, just connecting the dots with Coach Furry and then yourself, obviously, playing the receiver position. What kind of advice has he given you? Again, he himself has had a very long, lengthy NFL career. 1 year, if I'm not mistaken, he even led the league in it was either receptions and or yardage back when he was with the Detroit Lions. What advice has he given you as now you look to play NFL wide receiver for years to come?
For one, he just tells me to enjoy it and love the process and, you know, enjoy every moment. On the other end, you know, he tells me how much work it's going to take, dedication, you know, small tips he'll let me know. He'd be like, okay, I saw that, yeah, maybe we should do this better, or he'll tell me in the future when we do talk, you know, things he think I can improve on just for being a former head coach and receiver coach now. So every word I take pretty seriously from him.
Absolutely. And Vyncint, one last question, then I'll let you go. Your welcome to the NFL moment. Was it in the preseason? Was it in training camp? Was it when you came down with that touchdown reception against the Philadelphia Eagles Week 15 this past season? When was what was your welcome to the NFL moment? Was it walking in the locker room and seeing guys like a DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Tyrann Mathieu? I'd love to hear what your welcome to the NFL moment was.
I would definitely like to say the biggest moment for me was definitely the Eagles touchdown. But this whole season has just been so much, and it's hard to pick one moment as my welcome to the NFL moment. But I'd definitely like to say if I had to pick a moment, it's the Eagles touchdown, just making a big play and a big-time moment in a game that meant so much to our future. That really was special.
Absolutely. And again, first of many to come. Any expectations for year two? I know, you know, a player of your stature and again, still trying to prove yourself in the league. I'm sure you're just kind of doing this on a day-by-day basis, a practice-by-practice basis. But do you have any goals or expectations for year two in the National Football League?
Personally, for me right now, my goal coming into the season is just to be, of course, bigger, stronger, and faster. But, you know, to understand the game on a deeper level, pre-snap reads for me, understanding coverages right off the line, just being where I got to be very timely and being the most reliable guy on the field. That's what I'm striving for. And I think starting out with that goal will excel me into having a really good career.
What are your plans for the off season? You training anywhere? Going out of town? Going out of country? I don't know. You got any big plans for the off season?
Yeah, my big plan is just to train. Like I said, gain some more pounds. Try to cut some time off of 40 or something. But definitely to train and earn what I think I can get next season.
All right. Well, hey, Vincent, we really do appreciate you taking some time to chat this evening. Again, congrats on, of course, all the success over the past year. Whether it's blowing up the South Carolina Pro Day the way you did, or getting that call, joining the Houston Texans, and then, of course, not stopping there and making the 53-man roster, and then, of course, hauling in that very long touchdown reception against the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles, like you said, in a very crucial must-win moment for you guys. And again, just wishing you all the best. And again, thanks again for joining the show, man.
Thank you for having me on.